Happy Saturday, everyone, and welcome to episode 121 of the Real Academy, brought to you by Create and Educate LLC with your leadership doctors. I am Dr. Tammy Taylor, and my trustmate in education, Dr. Sheka Houston, and I are happy that you have chosen to spend some time with us this morning. Good morning, Sheka.
Good morning, Tammy. Good morning, everyone. And we would greet you like we normally do, but we have pre recorded this because we are off location with some family things this weekend. So, thank you all, as Tammy stated, for joining us. If this is your first time and you are joining us, we would like to let you know who we are. And as Tammy stated, we are your leadership doctors, HERS, with our dynamic staff members and students. We raised our report card grade levels 2 and 3 levels in 1 year, which is not typical growth. Typical growth at a school being in improvement status is usually takes about 3 to 5 years. We have 48 years of experience between the two of us, including district and building level leadership. We've received the STEAM School of Excellence Award, the Palmetto Silver Award for growth, and we are very excited about the improvement that we have experienced with our great schools that we've been associated with. And Tammy is still at the school right now. I'm at the district level, but still proud of all of our schools.
Yes, very excited about the work that we've been able to do in our schools. And if you're wondering what it is we do, what our mission above all other things is, we support leaders through coaching and professional development. We help leaders transform their organizations. Like right now, we're working with schools both in South Carolina and outside of South Carolina. We presented to educators all over the world about our practices and our transformation system.
Definitely. And through what we offer, if you're interested, we offer right now the Leadership Trustmate Institute. This is for all leaders or any aspiring leaders. A lot of times, people in leadership or people that aspire to be leaders don't really know where to start sometimes or what it takes to really be that successful leaders. And we guide you through that entire process. We also have another program that we're very excited about and just received some funding money from a pitch competition. We won a pitch competition that we are so excited about. That is Build My Sister, and this is specifically for Black women in leadership or Black women who are aspiring to be leaders. Our professional development offerings includes transformation, literacy offerings, access, generational studies, and customized training. So that brings us to our topic this morning. I'm going to put this back up just so we can reference the video. We are having some technical difficulties with being off site. So we're just going to reference this video. This is a TED Talk video because our topic this morning is the importance of SEL after the holidays. So we were basing it on this video clip that we're going to put in the comments afterwards. Caroline Clark in The Essential Power of Belonging was just giving her story about belonging. She was adopted, and her son, who was an adult, had conducted a DNA test and found her biological father. And so she was really concerned because her son had reached out to um, the father that had no knowledge of her. And so she was just concerned about the reaction and not wanting her son to feel rejected, but also not wanting to feel any rejection herself. But it turned out to be a good story. He did reach out and was happy to learn about them, so it was a good ending to the story. But the reference to the video, we really wanted to get that definition of belonging, and belonging is the human emotional need to be accepted, an accepted member of a group. whether it be a family group, friend group, co-workers, your religion, or something else that people would like to feel like they belong to. And a lot of times belonging has to do with that validation and being seen. So this is falling into our continuation of our series on culture, because we talked about cultivating a great culture last week, and you can't have a good culture unless that belonging piece is embedded in there. This fits into our framework, the door still of our framework, with respect. And we have talked before, if you've tuned in with us before, you know that the door is the foundation for us. Before we can do anything else at the school, we have to get through the door. And belonging is something that has to happen, um, when we get to any type of school or organization. Now, as educators, right after holiday time, we really have to be cognizant of the fact that the holidays are not happy times for everyone. Sometimes adults and children experience stress and trauma when they're at home for the holidays. It could be abusive homes, they could be in divorced homes where there's challenges and children, and so that division and having to divide the children up may have been stressful. People could be experiencing some grief over loss, and then sometimes we don't take into account that children in foster home situations, they also not be having a great experience if they're having to have their Thanksgiving with people that are not their family members. And so, one of the first things a lot of times we do as educators, we want to bring everybody back in after the holidays and either write or talk about what happened during Thanksgiving or what happened during your break. And we may be all excited and thinking that everyone else is excited about this, but that may not be the case, as I just stated. So nothing would make you feel more out of place and that you don't belong than feeling different sometimes. Now, Tammy is an anomaly. She feels like she is very different, but fits in a lot of places, and she does. And so she's definitely going to tell her story. But that assignments like that, this is where we want to make sure we're giving some choice so that we're making sure that our students are not feeling anxious or out of place or that they're different from their peers because their experience may not be like the majority of the group.
And I think that the most important aspect of any um, individual feeling like they belong or feeling like they don't belong in a particular group, and it again can be a family group or a friend group or just a class group, because what Sheka mentioned before, and it kind of goes back to one of the points that was made in that video. So if you get a chance, go visit that video, because I think it does really provide a strong basis for just thinking about what it means to belong, because that fear of rejection is a very real thing. The lady in the video, when you hear her talk about how she was kind of on pins and needles because she didn't want her son to feel the sting of rejection, but in essence that came from her not wanting to be rejected as well, and she kind of talks about that a little, but that rejection is a real fear for a lot of people. And so you have to be very cognizant of the fact that children also fear the rejection of other kids. They fear the rejection of the teacher, because when you do talk about, and I think you should give kids the space to talk about the holidays or whatever, write about it. Like Sheka said, choices are excellent at that time. If they choose to write about it, write about it. And it might not be a favorable piece of writing in your mind. Like this is
Mhm.
horrible. This was tragic, and oh, it's just
Right.
so terrible. But you have to just be respectful of whatever it is that children bring with them, because it is the reality that they face, and what we have
Mhm.
to be are champions for them. And we talk about Rita Pearson all the time. That's what the kids need. They need a champion to understand that they're not all coming from the same background of experiences. They're not coming from our background of experiences. Some of them may be like, I have my own trauma that's associated with Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving holiday. Now, I still had an amazing Thanksgiving with family, and we were thankful to be able to be together. But several years ago, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, my brother passed away. And so,
Mhm.
it brings with the coming of the holiday and just being a part of that Thanksgiving bank of memories. We'll always remember the fact that this was a time of a terrible loss for us. So when you're thinking about the experiences that people have, just validate them, whatever they are. And
Mhm.
if that wasn't a pleasant experience that the kids or your staff, because again, I'm an adult, I lost my brother as an adult, but that was a very traumatic experience for me and my family. So we just have to make sure that we are very sensitive to the fact that everybody has a different set of experiences. And um, a lot of children come to school from a holiday like this, as Sheka said, and they're more anxious than they were before they went home because of all the things that happened around them or didn't happen around them. And they are fearful of the judgment that comes with that. And what you can offer them is a safe space to share their experiences with no judgment, and
Mhm.
just being willing to hear what they need to say, and honestly bring in support if they need it, because this is a time when my counselor used to be really spot on after those holidays with pulling groups, and she's
Mhm.
from this community, so she knew some things that might have transpired over the holidays, and so she was really on that. So I think that's a strategy for helping kids to feel like, okay, yeah, I do belong in my space, and they are very aware of what
Mhm.
I've had to face over these holidays.
Definitely, Tammy. And then a lot of times I know that we sometimes do our circle time or our morning circles at the beginning of the day. And so sometimes right before those, you can do just a little assessment and even of your staff before they get back, some check ins, just to see, simple check ins, how things went for people. If anybody is like you said, needing some extra support, or you're having to do something different or shift something before some type of writing assignment or group talk where something may come out that may make a child feel uncomfortable. So those check-ins are really helpful a lot of times for small children. It could be in the way of emojis. Older
Right.
children, it could be by the way of writing, but just being cognizant of sometimes our messaging or our framing of our questions. Because as we were preparing for this, we were talking about how a lot of times people do things and say things in innocence, not realizing that they could be causing people harm or to relive trauma. Kind of similar to when people that are young, I know this happened a lot to me as I got married when I was 20. Oh, how's married life going? So what if it's not going well? What are you supposed to say to that question? And then after you're married, the next question is, oh, when are you having a baby? What if somebody's having fertility issues? That's a very invasive question. And then once you do have one child, oh, when are you having your next child? And then if you do, have one child, or if you have a girl, oh, when are you going to try for a boy? Or if you have a boy, when are you going to try for a girl? So we do this invasive series of questions, sometimes causing people harm, not realizing how harmful those lines of questioning could be. So, just keeping that in mind when we are talking about something innocent like, "Oh, did you have a great Thanksgiving?" or "How was your holiday?" Just rephrasing that, "Was this a great time of year for you, possibly?" Anything you want to talk about from the holiday, because they may not, but you're giving them that choice.
Right.
So, the other thing that brings us to when we're talking about belonging, and when we put this up and you all can see everything. We're going to put the video in the comments for you. But one thing that you can do with that video with your staff is a belonging assessment. And what you are doing is assessing your environment to see what evidence exists to make sure that everyone in your building or your organization feels a sense of belonging. So when you are conducting this assessment, the first thing you have to know is who's here. So if you don't have a sense of who is in your surroundings, you do want to have a very great grasp on that. And I know that Tammy does this at her school, and it matters to me as a parent when you're making schedules and if you're not looking at the makeup of children in your classroom, if you have a classroom where a child is the only person representing their demographic, that is not a good thing. That's one of the first questions I always ask my children when they're in school, because I don't want them to feel like they are the only person who looks like them in a room. That causes anxiety. So just making sure you know who's in your building, and when you're making your class schedules, you're creating that sense of belonging space to where people don't feel singled out.
Right. And I think it's important to just bear in mind, like we're very intentional about it. And
Mhm.
at the bottom of the rosters, and these are the pre-rosters when we are planning, there is a section where we are able to calculate demographics so that we are pretty even with boys and girls
Mhm.
versus black, white, and other, whatever that might be, as well as special needs of kids that might exist, and those needs can vary from um, being special education to being at risk for behaviors or other things. Um, so I think it's important, though, to make sure that we are creating classroom environments where children and teachers feel like they can thrive, because unless you're having a single gender class, then you should not have a class that has 14 boys and 4 girls, or
Exactly.
that is out of balance. And I'm very conscientious about that because I was the teacher who got the 18 boys in the class and 4 or 5 girls, because that was, I didn't have a problem with building relationships with those boys, but
Right.
and that could come from being a girl with 3 brothers. I don't know, but
Mhm.
I realized then that not that there was a problem for me, but that really was not fair to my girls, because
Right.
that wasn't a balanced class. And so we really are intentional about trying to make sure that we do create a balance here so that everybody feels like they belong and they have someone that they can connect with, both culturally, academically, or whatever, socially, even if that's a thing for you. Because Shika made fun and in reference to this before, but I am the oddball out. But now the thing about this oddball is I can fit in just about anywhere. I can get in wherever I need to fit in. And I think that just comes again from growing up in a house where I was the only girl. And so there were times when I had to be on the island, but then there were times when I could be in there with my brothers doing what needed to be done. But my mom was very, very serious about that whole you're a girl and there are certain expectations that I have for you. And I think because of that, it made me a lot more well rounded than
Mhm.
I thought I was going to be. Now, so I'm very, very conscious about helping kids and adults to feel like they belong, because belonging, as you will hear if you listen to that um, video that we are sharing with you, it isn't something that you can contrive. This is it's a real thing, and to really feel like you belong isn't something that you can force. You have to create the environment for that to be able to happen.
Definitely. And once you get that piece about who is represented in place and that you have balance, then you want to assess your environment at your school and in your classrooms. Does the imagery here reflect who is represented in the building? And this, now that we have a number of international teachers, is not just about the children. I have to make sure that even my teacher and staff member population feel as if the imagery represents them as well. So that intentionality piece about it really is a big piece. You have to put intention behind what you're doing. The next part of your assessment for belonging is you want to look at your observances. You know, what are you observing at the school? Is it representative of what you have present in your building? And do you have good explanations ready? My boys used to always ask me, uh, Dr. Houston, why are we celebrating Women's History Month? We ain't celebrate Men's History Month. So I would always have to explain to them, usually when there's an observance, it is because there is a disenfranchised group. So I would have to explain to them about the disenfranchisement of women, in the United States. I said and these were my African American males. So I know what you're saying. Well, there's some African American males that have been disenfranchised. You are exactly right. And so we also observe Black History Month. So where the males can fit in as well. So you have to be ready for those explanations and, don't be offended because children, if they're asked and they really are curious and they have not heard the answers to those questions. So, you have to be intentional about making sure you can answer them as well.
Definitely. And make sure that you are paying attention, because the kids are very conscious of what you are celebrating and what the programs that you are having to honor various groups and to recognize them. Because again, this goes back to our door of respect and respecting the differences in people and celebrating those differences.
Most definitely. And so you want to do this same assessment and I would do this whole staff, or with your leadership your lead teacher leaders on your staff if you would like to, but I think the more people that are involved, I think the more there will be a true assessment of it and a true reflection from the entire building, from classrooms and everywhere. And this is something that people really have a true essence on now that, we really are intentional about making sure our children feel like they belong and, families as well when we're talking about programs that you're having and our after school activities, are we doing things that are actually making people feel like they belong or is this ostracizing people? So, we have to really think about those things and who we're representing and not just from our lens of how we have experienced life. And then you definitely want to make sure you're assessing those books and literature that are available in your building as well. So, this brings us to our close. We definitely want to make sure that you are aware of our upcoming event, the Build My Sister Collaborative, that is, we're in partnership with the University of South Carolina. That's going to be on December the 9th. Is it at 10?
10 to
10?
noon.
10 to noon. So we hope that if you're in this area, that you will come join us. That is going to be a great event. And also on Monday, we will see our great people down at the NatCon conference where Tammy and I will be presenting over in San Diego, California. We are so excited. My first time being out west. And thank you again to our South Carolina Community Fund, Wells Fargo Bank, for us being the second place winners of the LEAP Foundation grant. So, if you would join us, we are a part of the Fantastic Four. We start off every Saturday at 10 a.m. with Principal Sean Hurt. Create and Educate, that is us. The Leadership Doctors are at 10:30. Join us next on Principal Kafele's page at 10:55, and then on Sundays at 7:30, Dean, Chris, and Josh, I'm getting my words mixed up here, are on Unlock the Middle at 7:30. So we look forward to seeing you all next Saturday. We hope you have a fantastic rest of your Saturday. And remember, at Create and Educate, we create spaces that thrive. We hope you
Happy
keep
Saturday,
thriving.
guys.
Yes, on this Saturday. Thank you, everyone.